Hello everyone and welcome to the lecture on AWS Launch Wizard. So this lecture will contain all these topics. What is AWS Launch Wizard? The available solutions with AWS Launch Wizard, AWS Launch Wizard for Active Directory, supported versions of Windows for Active Directory, some features of AWS Launch Wizard for Active Directory and Active Directory components. So what is AWS Launch Wizard? AWS Launch Wizard offers a guided approach to sizing, configuring, and deploying AWS resources for third-party applications, eliminating the need for manual provisioning of individual resources. The service supports popular third-party applications such as Microsoft SQL Server, Always On, SAP system based on HANA, making it easier to deploy these applications on AWS. To begin, users input their application requirements, including performance needs, number of nodes, and connectivity, directly on the Service Console of Launch Wizard. Based on the provided requirements, Launch Wizard identifies the most suitable AWS resources, such as EC2 instances and EBS volumes, to deploy and run the application effectively. Launch Wizard offers an estimated cost of deployment, which allows users to have a clear understanding of the financial implications before proceeding. Users can modify the suggested resources and instantly view an updated cost assessment, enabling them to fine-tune their deployment according to their budget and requirements. Once the user approves the proposed AWS resources, Launch Wizard automatically provisions and configures the selected resources, creating a fully functioning, production-ready application. As an added benefit, AWS Launch Wizard creates CloudFormation templates based on the deployment, which can serve as a baseline for accelerating subsequent deployments of similar applications. AWS Launch Wizard is available at no additional cost. Users only pay for their AWS resources that are provisioned for running their solution, making it a cost-effective way to deploy applications on AWS. So let's see some of the available solutions. Active Directory, Amazon Elastic Kubernetes Service, Exchange Server, Internet Information Services, Remote Desktop Gateway, SAP, and SQL Server. So in this lecture, instead of going through all, I will be just picking up the most popular solution, Active Directory, which is widely deployed in the enterprises. So AWS Launch Wizard for Active Directory. AWS Launch Wizard guides users through setting up a new Active Directory infrastructure or adding domain controllers to an existing one, following AWS Cloud Application best practices. The service can be used to set up a new Active Directory infrastructure or extend an existing one, either in the AWS Cloud or in the on-premises. The deployment environment includes various resources such as a new or existing VPC, security groups, and AWS Identity and Access Management roles, IAM roles. Users can set up a new Active Directory infrastructure with domain controllers on Amazon EC2 instances, or add domain controllers on Amazon EC2 instances to extend their existing Active Directory infrastructure, which can be on premises or it can already be in the AWS. Okay, Launch Wizard reduces the time it takes to set up Active Directory infrastructure and deploy self-managed domain controllers to the cloud or on-prem. Launch Wizard provides an estimated cost of deployment based on users' domain controller requirements, such as the number of nodes and connectivity. Users can modify their resources and instantly view the updated cost assessment. When the user approves, AWS Launch Wizard provisions and configures the selected resources in a few hours to create a fully functioning, production-ready domain controllers. Okay, supported versions. So currently, AWS Launch Wizard for Active Directory supports Windows Server 2022. Okay, features of AWS Launch Wizard. Simple application deployment. So AWS Launch Wizard makes it efficient for you to deploy self-managed domain controllers and AWS Directory Service for Microsoft AD. So when you enter the domain controller requirements, AWS Launch Wizard deploys the necessary AWS resources for production-ready environment. Second important feature is AWS resource selection. Launch Wizard considers the number of AD users, Active Directory users, to determine best instance type, EBS volumes, and other resources for your domain controllers. You can modify the recommended defaults. So basically it will ask you how many Active Directory users you want to provision or you will be using on later upon, and then based on those it can give you the best instance type, volume, and other resources like load balancers and others. Cost estimation. So Launch Wizard provides a cost estimate for the complete deployment that is itemized for each individual resource being deployed. The estimated cost automatically updates each time you change a resource type configuration in the wizard. However, the provided estimates are only for general comparisons. They are based on on-demand cost and actual cost may be lower. So next is SNS notification. So you can provide an SNS topic that allows Launch Wizard to send you notifications and alerts about the status of deployment. Early input validation. You can take advantage of your existing infrastructure such as VPC or security groups with Launch Wizard, and this may lead to deployment failures if your existing infrastructure does not meet certain deployment prerequisites. If these requirements are not met, the deployment will fail. If you are in a later stage of a deployment, this failure can take more than 1 hour to detect. To detect these types of issues early in the application deployment process, Launch Wizard's validation framework verifies key infrastructure specifications before provisioning. Verification takes approximately 15 minutes, and if necessary, you can take appropriate actions to adjust your VPC configuration. Next feature is application resource groups for easy discoverability. So Launch Wizard creates a resource group for all of the AWS resources created for your domain controllers. You can manage the resources through the Amazon EC2 console or with Systems Manager. When you access Systems Manager through Launch Wizard, the resources are automatically filtered for you based on your resource group. So basically it will put all the resources in a resource group so that you can manage that better or have a better visibility into all the resources being deployed through the Launch Wizard. So some Active Directory components. 1. Virtual private cloud configured with public and private subnets across 2 availability zones. A public subnet is a subnet whose traffic is routed to an internet gateway. If a subnet does not have a route to the internet gateway, then it is a private subnet. The VPC provides a network infrastructure for your domain controller environment. Second, Amazon EC2 instances on which to provision your domain controllers. An internet gateway to provide access to the internet. In public subnets, network address translation, NAT gateways for outbound internet access. If you are deploying in your pre-existing VPC, Launch Wizard uses the existing NAT gateway in your VPC. Elastic IP addresses associated with NAT gateway and remote desktop gateway instances. 6. AWS CloudFormation templates and PowerShell configuration scripts to perform the domain controller configuration steps. Security groups to ensure the secure flow of traffic between the instances deployed in the VPC. And AWS Secrets Manager to protect secrets required to generate and store your Active Directory administrator credentials. Amazon CloudWatch logs to monitor and store and access your log files produced by AWS CloudFormation. And last component is Amazon Kinesis Agent for Microsoft Windows to gather, parse, transform, and stream logs, events, and metrics to Amazon CloudWatch logs. So basically this gives you an idea of all the components that Launch Wizard handles for Active Directory. So similar can be applied, same pattern can be applied to other products which we have seen like SAP HANA, Exchange Server, IIS Server, etc. And that's all. Thanks for watching.